Donald Trump's so-called MAGA Republican midterm election convention in Dallas, Texas, is becoming an absolute disaster. No MAGA Republican congressional candidates in competitive districts for this upcoming midterm want to be at this so-called midterm convention. They don't want to be on stage next to Donald Trump. They think it will be a disaster for their chances of doing even decent in the midterm elections, where Democrats are poised to take control of the House of Representatives. The way this is being arranged is that there's supposed to also be like delegations from different states showing up at this so-called midterm convention in Dallas, Texas, and the delegates don't want to show up. They're like, why are we going here? What are we doing? Why are we doing a midterm convention like the presidential convention? And they're like, oh, I get it. This is more of a corporate grift where this nonprofit associated with Trump and the MAGA Republicans apparently brought in like $45 million, yet the city of Dallas, Texas has no clue who's going to be paying them back for hosting this event. And apparently the city of Dallas and their mayor has reached out to the MAGA Republicans in the House and saying, who's going to deal with security? Who's going to deal with all of the basics that would normally be coordinated with us? Nobody has been responding to the messages of the city of Dallas. And this also comes at the same time where the MAGA Republicans appear to be very vulnerable in Texas for the upcoming midterms. In the governor's race with Abbott, the MAGA Republican governor who loves data centers, who gave all of the tax breaks to the data centers so they didn't have to pay taxes on electricity, and now he's trying to do a complete 180 on his position. Democrats, of course, have an incredible candidate I've had on the show, Gina Hinojosa. You also have the MAGA Republicans there and Donald Trump like destroying their very precious national parks, and I've been covering that as well, right by the Rio Grande. In the race for the Texas Senate seat, you have the MAGA Republican extremist Ken Paxton trailing to the Democratic candidate James Tallarico. And then in the congressional races as well, Democrats are running some very good candidates there. And you know, you had the gerrymandering efforts by Trump and Abbott, which may turn out to be dummy mandering, and Democrats may be able to take a lot of those seats that the Republicans were trying to rig, believing that Hispanic voters would continue to vote MAGA Republican candidates as they had in 2024. But Trump betrayed the Hispanic base, and it's not monolithic by any means. There's lots of different Hispanic groups in Texas and throughout the country. But overwhelmingly, the Hispanic population has turned against Trump and his regime. So the MAGA Republicans feel like, okay, you're throwing this event in Texas right now. You're just going to remind people, one, of how unpopular Donald Trump is, the betrayal of the Hispanic community in Texas, and frankly, the betrayal of the American people, the betrayal of everything that Donald Trump promised. But now it's obviously clear, it should have been clear from the outset, that he lied about during the 2024 campaign. He said no never-ending wars. Well, never-ending catastrophic war in Iran. You've got Donald Trump undercutting our ranchers here. We're going to bring mystery frozen beef from unnamed countries that are going to charge 25% less than our ranchers here in the United States. Great. Tell that to the Texas ranchers and ranchers across this country. And then, of course, you have things are far more expensive. Trump lied about everything. Let's just take a look and we can show you what's going on. So this midterm convention that's taking place in Dallas is set to take place September 9th and September 10th. Here's what we're hearing. The high cost of the GOP midterm convention. Trump announced last month that Republicans would hold the first ever midterm convention in September, promising lots of great entertainment and a rally like no no one's ever seen before. Yet it turned into a shit show, said one GOP campaign strategist, and few lawmakers actually want to go. For starters, the National Republican Campaign Committee is asking House members to cough up $25,000 for themselves and a guest to attend the two-day convention in Dallas, according to 3 people who have reviewed the invitation. And that's the cheap rate, with the highest tier asking for $100,000 from lawmakers. The RNC, which is hosting the convention, is also taking sponsorship money from corporate donors, which is being funneled into a nonprofit that doesn't have to disclose its donors. But with no party business being conducted, as would be typical at a presidential nominating convention, and poor planning, invitations were sent in the last several weeks, way after lawmakers had already committed to other events. Campaign strategists are seeing that it's little more than a fundraiser for an unnecessary Trump production at a time when some swing district lawmakers aren't exactly clamoring to be associated with Donald Trump. It's yet another opportunity to shake down corporate America, said one Republican strategist. Added the Republican strategist, nobody understands why we're doing a midterm convention. It's just another show that Trump is going to put to remind the voters that he is sitting there, and maybe they don't want to be reminded of that. Then there are the optics. The convention will take place just 2 days before the 25th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Imperfect timing, perhaps, for lawmakers to be photographed in elephant hats with the party's wealthy elite. And that came from reporting by Puck. What about Reuters? This is what they're saying is going down. That it's not clear which congressional candidates even want to show up to this midterm convention, as Donald Trump is calling it. Reuters contacted representatives for Republican candidates in 37 competitive U.S. House races and 8 closely contested U.S. Senate races to ask whether they plan to attend the convention and deliver a speech. Of the 45, only one campaign offered a substantive response. Republican Representative Tom Barrett, seeking re-election in a tight race in Michigan, who plans to skip the convention and remain on the campaign trail, he said that he's not going. Also, the timing, just at the start of the school year, could pose a challenge for some attendees. One state party chair told Reuters he had returned many of his delegation's allotted seats after members said they cannot make the schedule work. I don't know that we're going to see a convention in Dallas change what happens in Cheyenne, Wyoming, or Charleston, South Carolina, said Dave Wilson, a South Carolina-based Republican strategist. I don't think the average Republican voter even knows that there's a convention going on. Also, with Trump's approval at 33%, that's the average approval, but decreasing. One strategist working on a competitive race, who spoke to Reuters on a condition of anonymity, said it made little sense to tie candidates more closely to Trump when many are trying to focus on local issues to win over independent voters as they are fleeing Donald Trump. And as I noted before, the Dallas Council, the city council, is saying, dude, this is going to cost millions of dollars. Anybody in the Republican Party going to pay us? Like, you're doing an event in our city, you want to coordinate with us or tell us about it? And the mayor and the mayor and a city council member, they're like, I don't care if it's $10, $100, or $1 million. You're supposed to coordinate this stuff. But when it comes to Trump and his despicable regime, they don't give a crap about anybody. And so you have that situation happening in the city of Dallas, also further pissing off people in the communities there. But MAGA Mike Johnson wanted everybody to know when he spoke a day ago or so that he thinks that all of the candidates need to tie themselves to Donald Trump, because MAGA Mike is a complete idiot and loser who's about to lose his job and get fired and never have a role in politics again. Good, because what a sick little weasel this loser has been. But he said everybody should be focused on tying themselves more closely to Trump. Have you ever seen more of a weak, pathetic weasel than this MAGA Mike guy? I'm going to be so glad to see him lose his job. Bye-bye, MAGA Mike. Here's what he had to say. Play this clip.
President Trump was talking in South Carolina the other day about how he wants every candidate to just pretend that he is on the ballot. In the 19 that are going to make or break the House, how many of those should the Republicans pretend that that Donald Trump is on the ballot? How many does that help?
Well, most of them, because we're running on the record. You know, record over rhetoric is our thing. And we made a lot of promises in 2024. We kept them. We brought the biggest tax cuts in U.S. history. People got their largest refunds of their lives. Most Americans did. In every state where I'm going, they have thousands more dollars in their pocket they didn't have to send to Washington. And we secured the border, restored American energy dominance, got back to the principle of peace through strength. America's back. Business owners have the ingredients now to grow their operations, expand manufacturing. We have more American jobs onshoring. Our candidates are in these districts and all across the country talking about that real record. I think the American people are smart. I believe what Ronald Reagan said. Trust the people. When they have the facts, they'll make the right decision.
And then, you had this entire Trump regime, going around the country and making things even worse for the United States of America, but also their MAGA Republican candidates. I mean, you had J.D. Vance going to Maine to attack Canada. And again, the people of Maine are solidly with the people of Canada. I mean, there is a very close relationship there. But you had J.D. Vance show up and he was like, yelling at Canada and just saying all of these horrific lies about Canada. And he's like, we're going to attack Canada and we're going to force them to negotiate with us, because why would Canada retaliate against us when we went to war against it? Canada needs to just take it. And again, it should be noted that not just in Maine, but in all of these swing states right here, very close relationships with Canada. And despite the Trump regime saying, we don't need Canada, we do. We actually do. They're a close ally and we need them. They're our closest ally and the United States needs them. You want to talk about potash? You want to talk about crude? You want to talk about electricity? You want to talk about nickel? You want to talk about aluminum? You want to talk about lumber, which is already way more expensive, which is causing massive inflation here. You want to talk about all of this? Our relationship with Canada is integral. You want to know why there is a small deficit with Canada? It's because of all of the electricity and energy and crude that they provide that the United States gets cheaper, and it helps the United States. And so you're going to see at this disastrous convention in Texas, what is it just going to be the Trump cabinet like screaming at Canada and ranting and raving like a lunatic about how well the war in Iran is going, which they claim was going to be done in March, but we lost with this ridiculous Netanyahu invasion, and now we're suffering the highest gas prices and highest diesel prices in American history. But okay, this is what J.D. Vance had to say. Play this clip.
Obviously, we're right on the border of Canada. I know there's a lot of cross-border trade and so forth between Canada and Maine. We really think over the long term, this is the sort of thing that's going to benefit the whole United States of America, including Maine. Canada has been, unfortunately, one of the main tariff violators, one of the main trade violators that we've seen anywhere in the world. Really, the only two countries that have really retaliated against the United States have been Canada and China. I think people were shocked to hear that. But unfortunately for the Canadians, they rely on our economy. They rely on Maine a lot more than Maine relies on them. And so what we're going to do is just impose some fair rules, really force the Canadians to come to the table and give Maine businesses the same treatment they give their own businesses. That's really all we're asking, is for basic fairness. And yeah, we've got to play a little hardball to get to that fairness, but that's what we're trying to do here. And over the long term, we really think it's going to be to the benefit of everybody here in Maine.
And here is what Senator Susan Collins is very disappointed. Here's what she had to say. She ain't going anywhere near that convention. She wasn't near J.D. Vance when he spoke in Maine. Play this clip.
I still think imposing new tariffs on Canada is a mistake. I met recently with the Canadian ambassador. I urged him to make sure that Canada dealt with one barrier that they do have, and that is to dairy products. And I encouraged him to take care of that, because I really want us to go back to the very friendly, economically beneficial relationship that we have with our Canadian neighbors. We produce a lot in Maine: our blueberries, our potatoes, our lobster, our lumber that is processed across the border. If it comes back with a huge tariff on it, perhaps as much as 50%, that increases the cost of eating, building homes, and purchasing our best-known products. So I have voted repeatedly against the Canadian tariffs. This has been really up and down. Yesterday, I thought we had an agreement. This morning, I read that it had collapsed. So who knows what tomorrow will bring, but I hope it will bring an agreement.
Then you look in a state like Wyoming, the Democratic candidate James Byrd leading Harriet Hageman there in the Wyoming Senate race, 39% to 37%. I want you to think about that right there. You have Greg Abbott out there in Texas. Now he's acting like, I don't want these data centers betrayed me. Dude, you gave the data centers the tax break and invited them all into Texas. But look how sloppy this is. Here, play this clip.
It was last year that you said that Texas was the epicenter of the AI industry. In hindsight, did Texas move too fast?
It wasn't Texas that was moving fast. It was these data centers.
But they needed approval from the government.
Well, so what?
And then I want to bring our attention to Texas 15th Congressional District as we talk about this Texas event. And Harry Enten spoke about Bobby Pulido. And Bobby Pulido held an incredible rally in Beeville, by the way. I'll show you what this Beeville rally looked like. They're fired up. This was a plus 40 Trump district, and Bobby Pulido is leading there. James Tallarico seems like he may beat Ken Paxton there as well. As Mike Madrid said, something extraordinary is happening in Texas. Hispanic voters are shifting away from Republicans by the same historic margins they shifted to them in November 2024. The size of the shift will determine who controls Congress, the country, for a generation. Ground zero for the fight in South Texas, Beeville. Ultimately, the country's the small, dusty town, Beeville, right in the heart of a deep red county and the 15th congressional district in Texas. As far as the midterms go, Beeville may be the most important city in America. Why? It's 70% Hispanic. It voted for Trump by 2/3. It's a city of 13,500 people. And the Tejano music star Bobby Pulido running for Congress as a Democrat against the incumbent GOP Monica de la Cruz, who threw the community under the bus. She hated the community. I mean, she screwed them over so much. Donald Trump's going to protect you. Donald Trump's going to give you all these great things. You're going to be rich. And then she threw him under the bus and then gave him the middle finger and then spit in their faces. Such a evil individual she is. And she's like, aren't you great? Isn't this the golden age? And people are like, nah, you just spit on us and you threw us under the bus and you acted like you were with us, but you were with the Mar-a-Lago Epstein class crowd, the never-ending war crowd with Netanyahu's wars against Iran, and you screwed over the people of Beeville. You don't screw over the people in Beeville. And so, you had 2,750 people. You want to talk about people showed up to this event in Beeville with James Tallarico, Gina Hinojosa, Bobby Pulido, and it was an incredible event. And I'll just share with you how when Harry Enten covered this, what he had to say. And you can see that Pulido's ahead in every poll right now, and he's expected to win. Here, play this clip.
Go to Texas, one of the youngest states in the nation. Go to a district that is very young, well less than median age than what we see nationwide. Chance to win in Texas 15. This is a plus 18 Trump district. Look at this. It's basically a dead even race right now, according to the Kalshi prediction markets. 52% chance for the Democrat, 49% chance for the Republican. And that tells us everything we need to know. Younger people just don't see the opportunities that those in past generations saw compared to their parents. And you're seeing these big swings as they kind of push out Republicans, pull them in, push them out, as they just don't feel that they've been able to deliver.
So yes, Donald, go to Texas. It'll be empty. Go to Dallas. No one wants to be on stage with you. It'll just be you and your deranged cabinet. It'll be people like Hegseth saying, oh, we're going to do more training and we don't want transgender people in our military. We're going to do more training. Back to the basics. Let's inject ourselves with testosterone, everybody. I'm Pete Hegseth. Lethality warfare. You're a loser, Hegseth. You're a freaking loser. You ran out of weapons in a catastrophic war we should never have been in. You had $1 trillion budget and you lost to Iran. Shouldn't have been involved in this war, but you also lost. And you treated our service members like crap. And the people in Texas know that you and Donald Trump hate our service members. The country knows you hate our country. And in terms of you throwing out communism, you're doing the weirdest version of communism in this Trump regime, where you do central planning, but you don't even help the American people with the central planning. At least in other communist nations, they pretend to help the people. Y'all are like, okay, ranchers, we're going to screw you over. We're going to do mystery foreign frozen beef, and we're going to undercut you 25%. And we are going to do central planning for the foreign countries, and you're going to get screwed, ranchers. But we're just going to say, we love the ranchers. We love the ranchers. And we're just going to hope that you just take our word that we love you and defraud you the whole time. You got Besant, Treasury Secretary Besant, who's out there manipulating the bond market, flailing around. What a loser he is. You saw yesterday. They're like, so what are you doing here, Besant? Well, I'm not sure we want to blow up the bond market yet, or the global financial market. So we're going to ask China for help. It's such an embarrassing, but let them speak in Dallas. Good luck with that. Remind the voters, please, before the election, what a horrible, horrific, loser, fascist, communist, disgusting regime this Trump regime is. Am I right? Epstein class, covering up child sex trafficking ring, a bunch of freaking low-life scumbag freaking sickos, and the American people know it. Ain't even a political thing. They're grotesque creatures over there in this MAGA Trump thing. Grotesque creatures. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate you. Get a copy of WTF America. It's the book I wrote with my brothers. Thanks for watching.
Hey, if you want the full story, how democracy got here and how we take it back, pre-order our new book, WTF America, today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.